Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the book Refuge and welcome to another recommendations video. So today I am doing recommendations for blue-collared heroes, which is gonna be kind of fun. Now I have a few things to explain, but first I want to say welcome to two new channel members. We have Jennifer who joined, as well as Chasing the Rain. So both of you, thank you for joining the family, joining the channel. Your support means so much to me. Make sure to check out your names in the end cards now. So thanks so much. The caveats that I wanted to say is that for me, I feel like blue collar heroes matter the most in historicals just because class differences, that's where it's going to be the biggest issue. Now, that's not the only place. But it's also sometimes what I wanted to include was just a couple that like they're blue-collared heroes for the job that they have, not because it's going to cause drama in the relationship. So the first three I'm going to show are contemporary books. And I feel like what your job is, unless you're doing like a billionaire book or an heiress book, it doesn't really matter if they're blue-collar or not. But I kind of wanted to talk about these specific heroes anyway, so I'm going to. And then the rest of this list is actually going to be historical romances with blue-collar heroes. So that's going to be like made men or men who are, you know, not super wealthy and wealthier ladies. So let's go ahead. Like I said, we'll start with the three contemporaries that I have. And the first one I want to mention is actually Broken Vow by Sophie Lark. So you're going to hear a lot about her books from me in the coming weeks and months because I recently binged this entire series and I was just kind of blown away by it. Each book is so unique, including some instances that I've just never really seen happen in Mafia before. And so that's one of the reasons why this series is just so impressive to me. So this one is actually book 5 in the series, so it's quite a way in, and I do suggest that you read these ones in order because that's usually the most satisfying way to do a series. But this one is about Riona Griffin, who is a daughter of the Mafia. She's a Mafia princess, and it's about Raylan, who is a modern day cowboy. He was in the army with one of our like friends that we've met before in this series, and he actually steps in to help out when Riona needs some protection. Through some situations that happen, things get a little bit hairy. There's people trying to kill her, and he decides that the best way to keep her safe is going to be removing her from the equation. And so he actually takes Riona home to Tennessee to his family ranch to kind of just remove her from danger. And so this book made me so happy. If you don't know, I'm a sucker for a cowboy, but I don't always love reading like Western romances. But Rylan, he definitely fits into that like vibe of a modern day cowboy, but he also has, you know, the smarts of someone who was in the army and knows how to be protective in that way. So definitely wanted to bring him up. And then another hero who is former military that I just had to bring up is Ryan from Only Love. So this book is, I think this is the third book in the Only series, because I think it's Only You, Only Him, and Only Us. And this is about the oldest of 3 sisters, and things have just been not going great. So she actually goes to stay with her grandma. And Ryan is her grandma's next door neighbor, and he is an ex-Marine. He's actually friends with, this is funny if you'll know this, but she has another series in that book. In that series there's a book called Irresistible, which has a single dad hero who is an ex-Marine. And so Ryan actually used to work with him. Why can't I remember his name off the top of my head? I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but we actually get to see that character in here because he's the one who has gotten Ryan a job at Cloverleaf Farms. So a lot of Melanie's books kind of take place in the same area, and so he actually works, I think he does like maintenance or something there. But this grandmother conspires to get these two together. So again, this is one that like I just love that he has a little bit of PTSD, he has a little bit of damage. His previous relationship didn't work out because he was in the Marines, and I just like reading about soldiers like that who get a second chance and who's also pretty resistant to it because he doesn't believe that he has anything to offer. And I'm just like, yes, you do, baby. Yes, you do. And then I just realized that I hadn't talked about this book, you know, in a hot minute, even though it's one of my favorites. And so I thought I'd find a reason to put it in a blue-collared hero video, and that's Birthday Girl. So our hero, Pike, who is the father to our heroine's ex-boyfriend, who she ends up living with. This is, I feel like, the intro age gap that everyone cuts their teeth on in the Booktube community. But it's a classic because it's awesome. And I know not everyone loves it. That's okay. Not everyone has to love it. But I love Pike, and he actually he like owns his own construction company. And I just love getting to see a hero who works with his hands, right? I love this book so much. Okay, so those were the ones that were contemporary, and now we'll dive into the stack of historicals I have, where a hero being blue-collared is usually a bigger deal to the heroine's family, usually not, move that a little bit, usually not to the heroine, but usually to her family or even to the hero, that they feel like they're beneath this person for some reason. But of course we got to start out with my girl Lisa Kleypas, and I actually have two different books that I'll share from hers, but I think one that y'all would be shocked if I didn't mention it, and of course I would always bring it up, and that's going to be Again the Magic by Lisa Kleypas. Lisa Kleypas has tons of working class heroes. A lot of people would like to say that she kind of like pioneered this kind of working class hero as a romance hero, because they were always dukes and viscounts and earls before, unless you were reading a Western or something. But in this one we have Lady Aline Marsden, who is the sister to the Earl of Westcliff, or the Earl of Westcliff, I think he's an earl. And John McKenna was a stable boy at her family estate when she was young, and they fell in love and wanted to be together, and her father actually threatened his life if she didn't end things with him. And so she really broke his heart in a kind of a cruel way. And she just thought that that was her one chance at happiness. And she kind of has given up ever having a true love. And then John McKenna comes back into her life, and he comes back into her life with a vengeance. Literally, he wants revenge for her breaking his heart. And I mean, well, you just have to read Again the Magic. I'm just saying, like, it's brilliant. I love a hero who has righteous anger, and John McKenna is like the epitome of that. And I just go crazy for him. This is one of my favorite books of all time. And I mean, if you haven't read it yet, what are you doing? And then the other Kleypas hero that I wanted to show for this, and again, I know she has a ton, but I had to mention the one that is my favorite, and then I had to mention one that I feel like doesn't get talked about as much. And so for me, that is going to be, it's going to be Ethan from the Ravenel series. And then we have Garrett Gibson, who is a doctor. So I like both our hero and our heroine are in the working class. She is one of the only female doctors of her time. She's been hired by Reese Winterbourne to be a doctor at his, business, basically, which is great because otherwise it'd be very hard for her to work. But he has her kind of like on retainer. She's kind of his like business doctor, because he knows that by having a doctor available at all times is great for staff and morale and everything. And one day Garrett gets attacked by some footpads. Number one, we see her kicking ass because she's super amazing and she knows how to defend herself. But even a girl can be overwhelmed when there's too many. Ethan is this isn't like a super spoiler, like he is a bastard Ravenel. This is something we find out earlier in the series. And he keeps that a secret himself, though, because he doesn't want to use the name and he doesn't want to be connected with them. And he just has like all these reasons why he needs to stay away. But he is inexplicably drawn to Garrett, and the chemistry that they have is amazing. He is like undercover and doing some kind of crazy work. I didn't say what he does. He is in like, I think he's currently like a private detective, but he's a former detective, and now he does like secret undercover work kind of. And when he starts being drawn to Garrett, he knows this is really dangerous for her, because if anyone connects the dots that he's seeing her, it could be really dangerous for her. But I absolutely love this book. I don't have a step back because I have a hardcover, but you can see them right there. So I love Ethan. I swoon for him big time. All right, someone else who has some great working class heroes, blue collar heroes, is Tessa Dare. This one is A Lady by Midnight. This book, I feel like some people say is like their least favorite, which I don't agree with. This book has a lot of angst for a Tessa Dare book. I feel like usually you don't get a ton of angst in Tessa Dare, but this one did, and I really liked that. Just because it was like a different flavor, like something you can always go to Tessa Dare. She doesn't have a ton of angst in her stories, but this one did. So this one is about Corporal Thorne, who has been really quiet, and we've seen him around in some of the previous books. I think this is book 3. Yeah, this is book 3 in the Spindle Cove series. And there is Kate Taylor, who is, what's the best way to describe her? But she's in Spindle Cove. She doesn't have many prospects. And then she has this long lost family come to find her. And for some reason, Corporal Thorne decides that these people might be lying, and he doesn't want her to just trust them. And so he steps up and like pretends to be her intended. And she's like, why did you do that? And he's like, you need someone to protect you. And if they think that you have someone who has your back, then they won't think you're so gullible. And so it's kind of like a fake dating, but it turns out that they have more of a history than Kate is even aware of. There are things about her past that she has blocked out or forgotten that are starting to come up. So I really like this one. Then I wanted to put in another cowboy. Okay. I feel like this is applicable because you can't see this, but I'll show you guys. I got a new shirt in the mail, and it says dibs on the cowboy. I really love the show Yellowstone, and if you haven't watched it, it's the Cowboy Mafia. And there's a character on there named Rip. His name is just R.I.P. And I saw these t-shirts on Instagram, and I totally got it. So anyway, sorry. I just ate dinner too, so I'm like, show off my belly while I show this off. But anyway, I wanted to put Dallas on here from Texas Glory, because I love Dallas. Now, pretty much any cowboy can be considered a working class hero. He is one of the more like richest men in Texas, but the way that he made his money, I would consider blue collar, right? I mean, if you're a rancher, I would consider you blue collar for sure. But this is a arranged marriage. We have Cordelia McQueen, who is actually the daughter of his like greatest enemy. He makes a deal. He really wants children, and so he makes a deal to marry this woman, and he will give water rights and land to her family upon when they get married, and then upon when she births him a son. Trigger warnings for miscarriage and abuse of a child. I was not prepared for either of those. The way that Lorraine Heath describes and expresses things, I wouldn't say that any of it is super jarring or like in a graphic sense, like we're not seeing graphic depictions of these things, but I still want to warn you, because when you're reading this style of Lorraine Heath, you're not expecting those kinds of like harsh elements to the story. But this is freaking delightful. I can't wait to read the 3rd book in the series. Lorraine Heath, like, she just gets me, whether she's writing Victorian or she's writing Spicy Dukes or whatever, or cowboys. I love how she tells a story. Then I have a Kerrigan Byrne for you. That was great. I'm pretty sure that is a t-shirt that someone made, is a Kerrigan Byrne for it. But this is book 2 in the Good Girls series. This is about the Good Sisters, and this one has so many elements that I like. oh my word, so many elements that I like. So if you didn't know, the Victorian Rebel series ends with a book called A Dark and Stormy Night. Now, A Dark and Stormy Night has another title, which is called Seducing a Stranger. And Seducing a Stranger / A Dark and Stormy Night is the first book in the Good Girl series. And then this is the second book. This is about Honoria Good, and she has recently had some tragedy in her life. She is recently widowed, and she has also been shot. I kind of need to tell you that because at the beginning of this book, she is reintroduced to a ghost from her past whose name is Titus Conleith, and he is a doctor. But before he was a doctor, many years ago, he was just a coal boy, a coal, C-O-A-L boy, who worked at the Goods estate. And he has had a thing for Honoria for a very long time. She, as I said, she's widowed now. She was forced into a marriage with a very abusive man. Well, her family didn't know he was abusive at the beginning. So to be fair, we'll be fair in that aspect. But now she is widowed, and he is the one who is taking care of her. And all these feelings that they kept repressed are just coming back. She was kept from him because he was younger than her. He wasn't titled, and she was the oldest of the family. So I really love this as well, because when you read A Dark and Stormy Night or Seducing a Stranger, you get this view of her, of who she is, this hard shell or veneer that she has put on. And a lot of that is all because she has to hide how she truly feels for so long. And when she is placed within reach of Titus again, she doesn't ever want to let go again. So, I love this book. This series, it just needs more love than it gets. I'm just saying. I mean, Kerrigan Byrne is such a great writer. This series is a much shorter one too. I've read all the way through book 4, and I just love them. They're much shorter. They're very quick. They're all are novella length. But it's just great because they're just bite-sized Kerrigan Byrne pieces. So there you go. Then I have Waiting for a Scot Like You by Eva Leigh. This was delightful. I recently read this book. I just read it at the beginning of April. This is about a widow named Beatrice. She is the Dowager Countess of Ferris. This book is based on Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It also has elements of The Princess Bride callbacks, as well as Footloose, and it's very exciting. And so Beatrice is going to go to an orgy. She is on her way to an orgy. She has raised her children. She has lived her life. She has done her time. She is done with the mourning period for her husband, and she wants to go have some indiscriminate sex with some strangers, and she's ready to do it. But her friends want to make sure that she's taken care of, so her friend's husband hires Major Duncan McCameron, who is much younger than her. He's a very stodgy, uptight man, and he has a little bit of a dominant side, and it is delightful. And so he is drafted into taking this woman to this orgy. And this is definitely a case of a very tortured hero. He doesn't feel like he's good enough for her. He doesn't see how this sophisticated, beautiful woman would ever have time for him. But when we get him in the sack, y'all, the daddy dom comes out. Not daddy. I shouldn't say daddy, but the dom comes out, and it's delightful. So this is an older woman romance. I love it. The cover, they even gave her some gray hair, which just makes me so happy because you never see that. And yeah, it's just absolutely fantastic. This book is so, so, so great. And then the last one, this was a 6-star read for me. I also read this book in the month of April, and that would be Dearest Rogue by Elizabeth Hoyt. This is a full-page step back. Elizabeth Hoyt has some of the best step backs in the game. And this is about Lady Phoebe Batten and Captain James Trevelyan. And this is a bodyguard romance. And this is about the wonderful Lady Phoebe. Someone is trying to kidnap her. Her brother is a very important duke, and he needs her to have a bodyguard. And we have James Trevelyan, who has recently been... Oh, also, she's blind. Sorry, let me throw that out. She's also blind is another reason that he wants someone with her all the time. to the point of kind of smothering her. He's a very loving brother, but not his finest moment, we'll say that. Okay, let me carry on. And Trevelyan used to be the captain of the King's Dragoons, and he was injured in an incident, and his leg was hurt quite severely. So he still has all of his smarts, he still has a lot of his strength, but his mobility is suffering. He actually needs to use a walking stick, and his leg is not quite back to where it was been, and it probably won't be. He's about 12 years older than her, and they have this very antagonistic relationship in the beginning. She resents that he is telling her what to do and trying to protect her and things like that, and she just wants as much freedom as she can have. However, I mean, it is her brother who's putting those constraints on her. Trevelyan's just trying to take care of her. But some things that I really love about this, and why, number one, just like in general, that this book was a 6-star for me. Phoebe's journey is amazing, but she's actually the one who makes the first move, which is amazing because she's blind and he's older than her and bigger than her and all these things, and she makes the first move. And then when Trevelyan gets to that point in the story where a hero may choose to, let us say, white fang his heroine for her greater good, Trevelyan is able to see that who is going to love and care for this woman better than I can? And I'll tell you, James, no one. No one can do it as good as you. So get up in there, son. Get up in there. So yeah, this is a 6-star read for me. I hate being this bitch. I hate being this bitch. I do highly recommend you read this series in order if you can. If you absolutely don't want to. I've loved books 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12 of this series. So I do highly recommend you read them all. But I understand if people want to hop around. I just think that this experience is absolutely beautiful, how it goes through. And this is a surprise. It was just announced today, but I'm actually going to be doing a Maiden Lane live show with my friends Tiffany from Instagram, Smart Women Read Romance, Jessin Reads Romance, and Crystal's Bookish Life. That is going to be on May 8th on my channel. So that's just a surprise plug, but I thought I would do it since I was just talking about Maiden Lane. We're going to talk about our favorite books, some of our favorite couples, and just talk about the series overall. So could be fun. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe to get notified. Make sure you subscribe to get notified whenever I upload, and make sure to check out channel memberships if you're interested in having more access. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.